You know, there really are a lot of cool features up in Superior 2. I say this because you're going to hear me refer to quite a few of these features as such, or you might even hear me say something goofy like,
"This is one of my favorite things."
Well, in the case of the Eckstrom, this is definitely one of my favorite things, okay? The Eckstrom is in fact so cool that I've decided to go ahead and give it a few videos all to itself, excluded from the construction window videos, even though this is the only window where you'll have access to the Eckstrom. Now, even though Superior 2 comes with more than enough instruments for you to use, you may find yourself wanting even more. And this is where the Eckstrom really comes into play and starts to shine, okay? For starters, the Eckstrom section is located right here in the upper right-hand corner of the Superior 2 interface. You have a downward-facing arrow, and you can go ahead and click on it, and that's where you'll find New. By pressing New, you will now have a fresh, brand-new Eckstrom right there, which you can drag around if you like by right-clicking or control-clicking and dragging it wherever you want it. And in addition to that, you could use a generic pitcher, or you could choose to toggle the view mode. You go ahead and do whatever works best for you, okay? I'm going to go ahead and use a generic pitcher for now. Now, getting back into the Eckstrom menu, the next section will be the preset section, okay? The first option here is to clear the Eckstroms. Now, by choosing that option, all of your Eckstroms have been cleared, including microphone assignments, okay? This is a good option I find for whenever I might get a little bit too messy with my Eckstroms, or if I stack too many things on top of each other and it starts sounding a little muddy or whatever. I just reach for the clear Eckstroms option and boom, start from scratch, okay? Let's go ahead and get another Eckstrom up, and then we'll find next on the list, should you decide to save a preset, this is where your user presets will be located, right there. Let's go ahead and load one right now that I created earlier. And now you can hear that I've got sticks, a kick, snare, and hi-hats right there. And I might add that all of these pieces are from different libraries, okay? And I'll get with you on that in just a little bit. Just stick with me. Now, after the user preset section, you're going to find the usual things: save as, save, delete, and manage in Finder or Explorer. After the presets area, you're going to find toggle view mode, which we've already talked about that, and then you'll see a list, Eckstrom 1, 2, 3, and 4. By choosing Eckstrom 2, I am now going to begin editing that Eckstrom. If I decide later on I want to edit Eckstrom 3, I can do it from there. See that? Eckstrom 3. And so forth and so on. Eckstrom 4. There is another way to go ahead and choose which Eckstrom you want to edit. You could right-click or control-click that pad, and you can choose all of them by holding the Shift key and left-clicking. But ultimately, what you want to pay attention to is this very top display that says Eckstrom 1, Eckstrom 2, so forth and so on, because that tells you what you are about to edit, okay? Next on the list, you can go ahead and choose which sound library you would like to create an Eckstrom from. In my case, I chose Hit Factory as Eckstrom number 1, but you can choose anything that you have access to, okay, whether it be an easy expansion kit or a superior expansion kit. The next option I want to talk about is the tools option. As you can see, right now with the Hit Factory, the only tools option I have available is a bass drum beater. I can choose between felt or plastic. However, in the case of the Avatar kit, I'll have more tools at my disposal, such as drumsticks, brushes, rods, felt mallets, felt or plastic bass drum beater, and I'm also given the option to have the bottom wire snares on or off. Basically, it's the same thing as the tool settings menu, only it relates to the Eckstrom and the library you have chosen. The next section is where we'll choose which instrument we want to use. For example, Eckstrom 3 on my preset is a snare drum from the Avatar library, okay? Now, once I've decided the main instrument I want, I can always come and choose a different snare drum from the Avatar library by clicking the down arrow and then simply scrolling on down to whichever drum I want to use. See that there? Now, the next section is the MIDI section. And there's a couple things I want to let you know real quick. These two options, steel default and steel current, are irreversible. Therefore, if you make a decision to choose one of these options and change your mind after the fact, you'll have to completely start all over from scratch, okay? I just want to put that out there, but I want to give you a quick description of what they're for. By selecting this option, your Eckstrom's original MIDI mapping will be used. Therefore, it's going to overwrite some, if not all, of your bass kit's mapping, okay? For example, that's a snare drum, right? If I choose to steal the default, Superior is going to use the avatar snare drum MIDI mapping and lay it out across the keyboard, and it may very well overwrite the MIDI mapping for that snare drum, okay? Next on the list is steel current, and by choosing this option, your bass kit equivalent will have its MIDI mapping stolen for use with that selected Eckstrom, okay? Let's go ahead and choose the kick from the Alaire. This is my number 2 Eckstrom. And just to give you an example, steel current will go ahead and find the equivalent piece on my bass kit, which will be the kick drum, and the Eckstrom will steal the MIDI mapping from my kick drum for its own use. Okay, it may seem a little similar to the last option, but they are different. Now, if you're curious about MIDI mapping, all you have to do is go to the Help menu, and you can come right down here to Hit Factory, for example, and go to MIDI Layout, and it'll tell you where the MIDI layout is for your kick drum and all the pieces for that matter, okay? Moving along, let's go ahead and select our Eckstrom, and then hit the X Edit button right there. Now, the next option is Steel Second Position, okay? This option is really cool in that it maps the most common instruments so that they can be used as a secondary drum of the same type. This option is really helpful for adding a hi-hat, a kick drum, or a snare. Now, if you need to know the assignments for the secondary positions, you can look in the appendix at the back of the manual and find what you need. But again, remember, these first couple of options are irreversible, so if you're about to make that decision and you want to play with them a little bit to get a feel for what it can do for you, that's fine. But in my humble opinion, I would go ahead and make sure to save any preset that I've created beforehand, okay? That way, if it's not what you want, you can always regress back to your preset. The next thing I'd like to discuss is the delete button right here, and it will do just that. Depending on what Eckstrom you have selected, you may go ahead and press delete, and it will delete that Eckstrom, okay? And the next thing I want to show you is the close button. This option will close the Eckstrom section to reveal the graphic display like you have usually with your bass kit. If you decide you want to go ahead and edit your Eckstroms later on, just simply select one of the Eckstroms and then hit the X Edit button. Now, you can edit these Eckstroms just like you do on your bass kit. If you'll notice, whenever you select an Eckstrom down here in the instrument panel, that instrument shows up X2 kick, and then the next one will show X3 snare, center articulation. Well, I can go ahead and edit the edge if I like. Just make sure to engage the edit articulation only, and I can go ahead and start messing around with the envelope if that's what I want to do. Every parameter is editable, just like it is with the bass kit. That's why these Eckstroms are so awesome, in my opinion. Okay, now I want y'all to stick with me because in the next video, I want to start talking about microphone assignments, okay? I appreciate y'all watching. I hope I shined some light on the Eckstroms for you, and I hope it helped you out. I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.